It's just, it's eerie to see here in Texas.
Well,
I
and
will
I
tell
think
you
you
that.
mentioned it, Marky. One thing, when you're talking about southern states, and I grew up in Arkansas, and so I very much understand what is happening there in the South, it is not something Southerners are used to, and therefore dealing with it from an emergency management personnel standpoint becomes difficult. Let's first off talk about that aspect of it and this overloading the grid situation where you're one of the millions of Texans that are without power. This has become a very serious problem for linemen and women there in Texas.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In terms of the power outages, yeah, 2.8 million. ERCOT is our main power agency, if you will, that governs 90% of the electricity across the state of Texas. And on Monday morning, they started initiating these rolling blackouts. And so, how it's supposed to work is, each household loses power for ideally 30 to 45 minutes. You get it regenerated again so you can go on with your business, heat the home, cook food if you need to, just all the daily essentials. What ended up happening by early Monday morning, and now we're into Wednesday at this point, we're talking about hours on end for folks without power. So there's a lot of answers that need to be, or questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of explaining that needs to be done with this. In terms of linemen and women, the streets are here in Dallas, the streets are empty. Everyone's staying home. You're not even necessarily seeing that many people treating the streets, treating the lines here. And so it really is kind of turned into a ghost town situation. I know that Governor Greg Abbott deployed the National Guard a couple days ago just to help assist people who really need it the most in this winter weather. And so I think the state is probably doing the best it can, but right now it's just clearly not enough for a lot of folks, Aaron.
All right, if you're just now joining us here on the News Nation Now Facebook page, or maybe your favorite local television station all across the country, I am Aaron Nolan, joined by Marky Martin, who covers Texas for News Nation. News Nation is a brand new network. We're focused on giving you the news from around the country, and right now the news from just about everywhere is turning to the South as it is still dealing with winter weather that is hitting right now for some parts of the South. Marky is living that in Dallas, Texas right now. Marky, you mentioned that you are without power, you and your husband, 3 days now. You just went home. Luckily, you have a place to go. But I'm also hearing stories on social media about people who are having to bundle up, of homes getting down to 40 degrees. There is some real concern in Texas right now about trying to find a way to heat homes simply to keep people safe.
Yes, I'm one of the lucky ones. We're staying at my in-laws right now across town. They have power, and what we're noticing with some of these blackouts, ERCOT, which is the main power agency, hasn't really explained yet how they're choosing areas to turn the electricity off on, right? But I think what the trend that we're noticing is they are trying to avoid critical infrastructure. So areas of town that have hospitals seem to be the areas of town that people do have power. So right here, just down the street, we have a pretty big hospital system here. So I think that's why we're okay. But so many people aren't this lucky in people's homes right now. It's down to 30s, 40s. My fiance and I just went home, to just check on things, grab a new round of clothes. The food had gone bad. It was 50 degrees in our place. Pipes are bursting for people. You're seeing all sorts of video come through from all across the state of water leaking through the ceiling, through ceiling fans, and there's really nowhere else to go. Even a lot of the warming centers that they're opening up across the state, several of them, I can tell you, down in Houston, have had to close because the power has gone out for the warming systems there. So the domino effect here truly is detrimental. As of yesterday, across the country, not just Texas, but 15 people, 15 Americans have been killed in this winter weather that we have seen this week.
It is,
New,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
it's a deadly storm, and that is something that is troubling. You and I have been talking about your day to day. We've been texting back and forth saying you needed to go to the grocery store, but we've also seen lines at grocery stores that are extremely long.
Yes.
What was the grocery store experience for you? We're seeing a little bit of your video on the screen. That there wasn't much there, but how was the whole experience and how are other Texans dealing with that experience?
Yeah, Aaron, I went yesterday, and today we have Tom Thumb here in Dallas. And I went to just go check things out. We also needed some new food. We're running out of food here as well. So we went to go check things out. And it's kind of that manic feeling, when you don't know when you're going to be able to get out to the store next, when they're even going to be able to restock, if the store is going to lose power. So a lot of people filling up baskets. Shelves were completely empty. Produce is gone. All of the items that can, stick around for long term on the shelf, those are gone. Canned foods, veggies. There was not a single loaf of bread. I just grabbed the last Hawaiian roll, off the shelf at Tom Thumb. And so there really is that panic mode that you can feel. The last time I saw grocery stores like this was the onset of quarantine back in March or April.
All right, so what's the forecast? How are things going to go over the next few days?
Well, back, to the last weekend, we had that Valentine's Day snowstorm. We got even more at the very beginning of the week. Last night, we endured round 2 of this winter weather. So we got even more snow, more ice overnight. The roads here really are very slick. Tonight, we're going to get another cold front in. I know Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon is on top of that forecast for us. But it doesn't look like things are easing up, really. Here in the foreseeable future. We're hoping to get a warm up just because of the power, right? The second it starts to warm up, that demand goes down. We can get more homes across the state with electricity. So really everything is intertwined right now, but it's still very cold. I think right now in Dallas, it's about 22. The other day we were going live, it felt like minus 11. And to say that here in Dallas, Texas, I never have. This is a first.
Houston Public Works tweeted out recently, and this is on our NewsNationNow.com website, the city of Houston under a boil order notice. Do not drink the water without boiling it first. Bring all water to a boil for at least 2 minutes. Let it cool before using. You mentioned Dallas not being accustomed to this. Then you go further south and you hit Houston, which is almost a Gulf community there on the Gulf of Mexico.
Sure.
This is very bizarre times that we're living in. How much do we know about what's going on south of you there in San Antonio, Houston, Austin, down to Corpus Christi?
Just in the past few days, just curating all of this content that we're seeing from across Texas, you bring up a great point. Even San Antonio, which is known for its hellish heat, Houston, these are really hot Texas cities. People are snowboarding and they're skiing down their neighborhood streets. The beaches, the shores of Galveston, caked in ice and snow. I'm sure you saw the story of the sea turtles on South Padre Island. They are so cold. They've been stunned by that glacial water there. They're paralyzed, and people are having to open up warming centers, making sure, not even to mention this part of the country, the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas of the world, where farmers, that's their bread and butter, cattle and livestock, and they're having to go out and check on these prized cattle, bring them in and make sure that their core temperature is getting warm so that they can stay alive. I mean, it's not just humans anymore. This is now affecting animals throughout this part of the country as well.
Each and every night, 5 days a week, Marky does stories on the southern part of the United States for NewsNation. What are you working on today, Marky?
Tonight is going to be all about power, Aaron. How did this happen? We're just hearing from ERCOT, which is the power agency once again. They just had a press conference at 11. Governor Greg Abbott holding his own press conference at 3 o'clock. He has called for an investigation into this, just calling this outrageous. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner calling this a statewide system failure. So there are a lot of unhappy people. There are a lot of uncomfortable Texans here. So tonight is going to be all about power, getting to the bottom of it, what the elected officials have to say, and also what ERCOT is saying as well, and how they're handling everything.
I mean, those are all extremely important things because, again, when you have an area that's not used to cold snaps quite like that, power outages that are affecting millions of people, this is a very serious situation. But I do want to know about some of the beauty behind some of this. I have a feeling there are a few Texans that may be enjoying parts of the snow.
Yes, there are some people, it's always, you
Kiddos
have to look,
mainly.
you have to look for the silver linings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a hard year. The last 12 months with the pandemic, it was a long election season. Now, it's been one thing after another for every American. And so to find the silver linings in some of this beauty in this winter weather, you have people skiing, you have kids who are out trying to enjoy the snow days that they've been given. Sledding. I know we've seen some incredible drone video coming from this part of the country. I know up in Oklahoma City area, the Overholser Dam has frozen over, and Mother Nature is so beautiful, but her sheer strength is also something that you just can't mess with. You see some of these scenes, and you think to yourself, how beautiful, a winter wonderland, but she is fierce, and right now she is unrelenting
And
on
you,
this
you
part of the
bring up a
country.
great point there, Marky. You do have to respect Mother Nature for that power. She brings beauty. She does bring power. As we wrap up, and I know you need to get back to work for your story tonight on News Nation, what's the expectation of when normalcy as far as the power grid and the water systems and really the roads there in Texas? What's that mindset from officials? When are we going to get back to normal for Texans?
Aaron, I wish that I could answer that for you, but not even ERCOT is answering that. The governor can't answer it. And, in the press conference this morning at 11, so many reporters pressing the question, when will power come back on for all Texans? When will we see, like you're talking about, that bit of normalcy? And they said, at this point, we just can't even predict. And I know at one point, I wrote this down, the CEO was talking, and he said, we're trying to find that fine balance of power so that we don't go into these uncontrolled, catastrophic blackouts. And he said an uncontrolled blackout could leave Texans in the dark for, quote, an indeterminate amount of time, maybe a month, he said.
That's
So
scary.
this is not a thing that's going to be fixed by Friday and by the weekend. This could take many long days, many long weeks. He alluded to possibly even a month if things got out of control, even
How,
further than they already are.
finally, very quickly, how is frustration levels right now for Texans? And I mean, you're one of those. You're one that doesn't have power. You're one that's having to get out to go to the grocery store because your food is going bad. What is the frustration
Yeah.
levels like?
Um, Again, I will preface with saying that I am one of the lucky ones. I have a warm place to lay my head. I've had a warm meal at night, so I really can't complain that much. But the frustration here is through the roof, and a lot of people not understanding how the largest energy producing state in the country is under this kind of a blackout. Yesterday we woke up, it was 4.1 million Texans in the dark. Now, as of this morning, I believe it was 2.8. And it's not a thing that's continually getting better. Sometimes ERCOT is saying, hey, we have to shed the load even more. And, I haven't been an energy expert. I was the first one to tell you that this morning. So when we're hearing about these megawatts being added on or taken off, 3,500 megawatt load, when you see some of these numbers, 3,500 megawatts is equivalent to about 700,000 households. So at points we're seeing, calls from this energy agency saying, hey, we need to shed 14,000 megawatts. We need to shed 20,000 megawatts. 3,500 is 700,000 homes. So it's ebbing and it's flowing, and it's not going in one continuous direction headed for the better. So it's just one day at a time, Aaron. Frustration is high.
Marky Martin, thank you so much for taking the time out of Dallas, Texas. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. Talk
All right.
soon.
Yep, we will talk soon. Marky obviously now turning gears. She's going to go from you watching us here on Facebook Live. She's going to put together a story tonight for News Nation, 8/7 Central on WGN America. We encourage you to join us for News Nation. If you don't know about our brand new national newscast, we're center of the lane. We're not going to tell you what to think on the left hand or the right hand. And when we're talking about weather, that's relatively easy to do for us. But it is something that's very important right now as the South continues to deal with that. Check out newsnationnow.com and make sure you like our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages wherever you're watching us from across the country. I'm Aaron Nolan. Have a very warm and comfortable as you can across the South and really all across America all afternoon long. Have a good one.